motorcycle adventure teaches something profound about human connection and what it takes to have a dialogue. Through a motorcycle journey across the Himalayas, I learned that to have dialogue, it takes space. Space between our identity and us. And you too can have this space in your life, even if you've never set foot in the Himalayas or straddled a motorcycle saddle. In June of 2018, I traveled to India to travel to and through the highest motorable road in the world, the highest pass in the Himalayas. I was inspired to do this journey by the 2012 documentary film called The Highest Pass. The 2012 film was about an Indian mystic and yogi, Anand Malhotra, who led a group of Westerners on a motorcycle journey to and through the highest pass in the Himalayas. Anand Malhotra is my teacher. He's also my dear friend, and he was the leader of the 2018 Highest Pass expedition. Anand's intention for a group of 32 was to experience the mystical aspects of existence and to go beyond the limitations of the body and the mind. My personal intention was for my body to survive. I also thought this experience would provide a diversion from my work in conflict resolution. Actually, riding a motorcycle through the Himalayas was like being in an intense personal conflict. Crazy mountain roads without guardrails like this I don't want to scare you too much. 16-hour days in the saddle, altitude sickness, impacts of weather, all threatened the very essence of whom I thought I was. And whom I thought I was this physical form and the collections of thoughts, emotions, prejudices, judgments, and the conditioning that it carried. Like we all do in conflict, I reacted to the experiences which I perceived to be a threat to me by trying to avoid, escape, or control them. Momentarily, I even considered the ultimate escape, walking away and getting on the next plane to the US. But I don't quit easily, so I decided to stick with it. Sticking with it meant that I rode as slowly as possible, maintained a death grip on the handlebars, and looked right in front of my front wheel. At the same time, my mind ran an endless reel of coulds and shoulds. If you know anything about being on two wheels, especially when riding roads like this, these are the worst possible things you can do. And if you know anything about being human, the coulds and the shoulds could make us miserable, even in paradise. Yet, with every high altitude pass, every hairpin turn, every night spent under clear mountain skies, something profound was changing within me. I was attuning more inward. I was observing more and evaluating less. I was realizing how little I knew, even about who or what I was. And I was becoming curious about everything that I was seeing. At the same time, my beliefs, judgments, prejudices, likes and dislikes, even the needs of this body were becoming less and less important. The culmination of this journey for me was reaching the Kardung La Pass. At 18,350 feet above sea level, this is as far and as high as you can travel in the Himalayas on a motorcycle. Now, sometimes in the moments of epiphany, you wish that someone had a camera. my good friend, Belgian filmmaker Max Mukens, did.
I don't have words. I really don't.
I hope you weren't expecting for me to say something wise. I didn't have much to say on top of the Cardon La Pass. But what I was experiencing was quite profound. First, I felt totally out of my mind. I felt out of my mind because what is our mind? The collection of past impressions, judgments, beliefs, conditionings? Could not comprehend the sheer magnitude, raw beauty, and the dynamic stillness of what I was experiencing. I also felt absolutely present in the moment, probably more present than I ever was before. Finally, I felt really, really small. When you're standing at 18,000 feet and realize that Everest is another 10,000 feet up, you feel like the tiniest microspeck of dust. And so, my beliefs, preferences, judgments, likes and dislikes, all the things that make up my identity, felt like distant stars in the mountain skies. So, feeling absolutely in the moment, being attuned to my surroundings, and distant from all the things that made up my identity, I felt more attuned and connected to everyone and everything in the ways that I have never felt before. In fact, mine and my fellow travelers' eyes, as we looked at each other, welled with tears. We didn't need words. The level of connection we were experiencing meant that we couldn't tell where one person ended and the other one began. The Cardon La Pass was not the end of our journey, but the way that I rode and responded to challenges changed. A life and death struggle became a dance. Clearly, I survived. And through the experiences that I had at the top of the Cardon La Pass, I realized my teacher's intention for this journey. Experiencing this level of connection certainly felt mystical to me and took me beyond of what I thought was this body and this mind. You see, I realized that all the things that were me, that all the things that I thought were me, rather, were accumulations. This body, an accumulation of food. This mind, an accumulation of beliefs, emotions, prejudices, judgments, and conditioning. So what I thought was me was actually mine. This led to a profound realization about human connections. Regardless of how interesting, similar, or different these accumulations are, that's not how we truly connect with each other. I felt the most connected when all of these accumulations were the least relevant and the most distant. So we don't connect with each other through our identities, but through something much greater and deeper. In fact, I began to see our identities as boundaries. Like all boundaries, they serve a purpose. For a while, they can define and protect us. They can create an illusion of separation, an illusion that there is you and me and us and them. Eventually, though, our identities limit and confine us. So the key to true connection is to go beyond our identities. And then we discover space for connection that is truly profound, for connection which goes beyond beliefs, preferences, likes, dislikes, prejudices, and even beyond this physical form. This is nice, you may say, but how does it actually help me? How does it help me to have a conversation with a person I disagree with? Should we send them to the Himalayas? Perhaps you should come as well. Certainly sharing a powerful experience together, an experience that can create some space between you and your identity, or at least make it a little less important, is a powerful way to connect with another being. But you don't have to go so far or so high. To develop this level of connection that I experienced in the Himalayas takes just 4 things. First, is the regular practice of tuning inward. Tuning inward, whether you use breath, meditation, or contemplation, tuning inward means you start paying absolute attention to what is happening within you. In fact, I would like to invite you to practice a little tuning inward technique with me. This is a technique I practiced when I rode a motorcycle, and a technique I learned from a book called The Presence Process by Michael Brown. Would you like to practice this technique now? This way you can actually experience what I'm talking about. So as a first step, I'm going to invite you to take your tongue. Imagine my hand is your tongue, and you're going to roll it back. So you're going to touch the tip of your upper palate with the tip of the tongue. Can you do that? Yeah. Now turn to your neighbor and try to say your name. A little challenging, isn't it? So actually rolling your tongue back closes off the speaking channel and opens the listening one, making you automatically more receptive. Now, as a next step, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, and you can trust me on this, and tune in into your breath. Notice the colder air entering the nostrils and the warmer air leaving. Allow the breath to move in one smooth, continuous wave. Inhale, transitions to exhale. Exhale transitions to inhale. We're going to use a 4-word simple English phrase to help us tune in. The phrase is, I am here now. So as you inhale, you're going to think of the word I. As you exhale, you're going to think of the word am. As you inhale, you're going to think of the word here. And as you exhale, you're going to think of the word now. I am here now. Let's take a few moments with this technique. Now, when you're ready, take a deep breath in and hold it at the top. And as you exhale, gently blink your eyes open and come into this space. Now, did any of you experience a sense of spaciousness as we practice this technique? You can practice this technique before, during, or after difficult conversations, and especially when you're trying to listen to somebody. So I invite you to practice this technique throughout the day today. Practicing this technique will naturally make you more open and receptive. It will also naturally create space between all the things that are yours, your opinions, judgments, beliefs, likes and dislikes, your preferences, and even your body, and all that is you. The next thing to learn is to observe without evaluating. Now, this is really critical if you're interested in having nonviolent dialogues with people you disagree with. Just about everything we say is a judgment, evaluation, or a conclusion. Observing without evaluating will naturally make us better listeners. It will also naturally make us more quiet and help us tune in just like we did with the breath to what the other person is actually saying, not what you're hearing. Next is to expand. Expanding means that we start letting go of some of these conclusions that we have. Actually, one of the most dangerous things that we use in our language is the phrase, I know. I know makes us feel big and important. It also confines and closes us. What do we really know? Do we know with any certainty where this life ends and where it begins? Do we know fully who or what we are? Expansion means, focusing on expansion means that we give it an opportunity to important realization, to a realization that we don't know. Finally, explore. Exploring means letting go of projections that are based on the past. These projections don't help us. What if we saw conflicts as adventures that could help us explore and grow? Coming to think about it, my motorcycle adventure through the Himalayas was just about 4 things: tuning inward, observing without evaluating, expanding, and exploring. If we could bring these 4 things into our daily lives, we can transform even the most difficult interactions into opportunities for growth, connection, and dialogue. Thank you.